Seeing how my life took a turn, I felt very guilty of ruining things for them.
Man, you are a prime candidate for this.
He was put on a small airplane, blindfolded.
You've already got the keys. You saying that you're trying to be intentional about being present and helping, and she's gonna need that more than ever before.
Fire and the gym burning down, it's a representation of rebuilding me.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Damn Good Dad podcast. Today, I have a very special guest who I'm super excited to have this conversation with. This is a friend, a brother, an entrepreneur, a soon-to-be dad, and overall just a really, really amazing guy who is super encouraging and a great human being who just wants the best for others. And I think who else better to have on a show such as this? I want to welcome you, my man, Jaime A. Welcome, bro.
Brother, it's a pleasure to be here, man.
Bro,
I can't believe I'm here right now.
Honestly, man, like the more and more I think about this podcast and I think about everyone who's come through here so far, and I'm like, man, like I can't wait to get Jaime on here. And we've shared a lot in these past couple of months, and you expecting and all that good stuff, and I'm like, man, you are a prime candidate for this. I think your perspective, just us talking about your dad and like your grandfather even, I think you are the perfect person that can reach people who have similar stories to you, and also about to embark on a new journey similar to yours as well. So welcome, man. Like, thank you for being here. Like, I really appreciate it, bro.
Bro, thank you for having me, man. I'm happy it's becoming a reality. How much we've put this into play. How many times we've talked about all the conversations that we had and why they should be on camera.
Yep.
And I think that it's going to be limiting the time of how we talk, and what we talk about today is going to not do justice. I think I'm going to be here for an episode too, because we've had hours, I would say days upon days of conversations about value things like family, friends, fitness, finance, faith, so yeah, man, I'm excited.
Good, man. So look, I know you. The people at home may not know you. So tell me a little bit about yourself, your what you currently do for work. Man, just sell yourself.
Okay, so I'm a current gym owner. I wear a lot of hats. Of course, the modern day word is entrepreneur. But what I pride myself is in the community that I've built through one of my most favorite projects and that's GoFit. I've been able to use my story and how I overcame a lot of different health issues and obstacles in my life. From being an immigrant to being overweight to depression to illnesses, using fitness and using health. And when I started, I didn't think of the impact that I would make with my community. Yeah. I kind of did it it was a selfish thing, where I started posting online, and I didn't know how to hold myself accountable. So I realized that by holding myself accountable and being vulnerable online, that a lot of people would, I guess, be motivated by this.
Sure.
So I created the gym. That's one of my I guess, proud aspects in life. I'm a physiotherapist. I work with elite athletes. I also enjoy helping other coaches learn how to make money and how to survive in this field. It's a passion type of field. If you don't have a passion for it, you will not succeed. So if you can't link the passion to trial and error, to the knowledge, and then applying the things that you learn through certifications, through rubbing elbows with people that know what they're doing, through putting your reps in, then it's not for you. So I help people kind of discover whether this is for you, and if so, let's go full throttle and become successful. I like to consider myself a little bit of a Renaissance man. I feel like, if there's something for me to learn that I can apply and do to help the community, to help my village, I just want to make myself useful.
Good, man.
So
you touched on two really good points that I'll bring up one later, but the first one now is you said something about passion just a moment ago about why you do this, right? Where does that passion come from in helping people along their health journey?
It comes from seeing how my life took a turn and seeing just one by one how I've been able to help others. At the very beginning, I was very blind to it. It was hard for me to accept that what I was doing was good for others, because of that selfish motive, that like I was so worried about fixing myself and healing these wounds from, like that I grew up with, and it comes from that, from healed wounds. I think that passion comes from feeling the change in my life, like where what I realized, like, wow, I think what I'm doing is actually changing my life. Like there was a point in my life where I didn't I didn't care to exist, and um, putting myself first and putting my health first was difficult. I encountered a lot of challenges. I failed. I still fail every single day. But I realized that it's worth not just doing for myself, but doing for others. So I think the passion comes from seeing how it affected me and the dire need to spread that feel good that I got from it.
Okay.
Right? It's an opportunity. I think, being able to give other people an opportunity to take control and change their life.
I love that, man. You said something a moment ago about some of the things that you've gone through in your childhood that, obviously you're trying to help other people navigate through if they are going through the same something similar or just avoid altogether. Um, can you speak to that a little bit more? Just sharing a little bit more about what it was that you had to deal with as a kid.
Sure.
That yeah, as much as you feel comfortable to.
Of course. So, you know, um, I came here when I was 9 years old, eight turning nine. So, got here in February, turned nine in March. Uh, came from a rough upbringing. I'm from Ecuador. It was a third world country. At that time, there was a lot of there's still now, but at that time it was bad political unrest. There was a lot of corruption, a lot of crime, and when I first came to this country, the reason I'm here is I was kidnapped. Um, I there was like the crime that was being committed in the country at that time was so organized that we had no idea who it was organized by, and it was by the police department. They were stealing cars, they were kidnapping people, asking people for ransom money, or selling the cars for parts to stay afloat because the government wasn't funding them at that time. So they they had a trend that was ongoing called Kidnap Express. So they would kidnap people, call family members, get ransom money, same night, return home, just
Wow.
to stay afloat. I don't think they meant to do that. However, I was able to manage to get away from the situation. I escaped. Uh, um, Within like 2 3 weeks, it was a very rough story. Within about 2 3 weeks, we were here, and as a 9 year old, there was only so much that I can grasp about why life was taking this turn or why my parents made the decision. But when they did, they were about the age that I am now. So I'm starting to come to terms with the understanding of the sacrifices that they made at the age that they made them,
Yeah,
and the difficulties that they overcame at my age now. Um, and that part of that passion, part of that story comes from the ability to, in somehow, some way, make them proud and return the favor.
for sure.
You
For
know,
sure.
who knows where my life would have been had I never came to this country, had they never, taken me away from that situation. I'm sure they felt terrified and scared as well. Leaving comfort, leaving home with, little money in their pocket, whatever they had left.
Yeah.
So the upbringing was it was humble. At one point, all we had was four walls and a mattress, and then I saw my parents um, overcome all kinds of obstacles in life. From, I've seen my mom clean behind toilets. I've seen my dad be the maintenance man to now be able to create his own schedule. My mom's 20 years later has been able to grow into managing a funeral home. So it's seeing the story of how they did it and how nothing stopped them and what's instilled in my DNA, right? So I got a little bit of that, not a little bit, but I got that fight from them,
Okay.
from my parents. And also, side note, and this is not to, I don't want to say this in any kind of light, but like the fact that they fought through all of that and stayed together was a huge impact in my life. Because of course, me being the only child, I had a lot of friends, and I saw how a lot of friends grew up with either broken homes or just amicably divorced parents.
Yeah.
Um, and it made a big impact on me being able to realize, like, whoa, wait a minute. No matter what struggle, no matter the circumstance, no matter how many times they failed, they remain together. So I have that great example, and I think I carry that in my life as well, of resiliency
Yeah.
with not just a my relationship with my fiance, the mother of my child, but also with all relationships in my life. I learned to value and to have patience and the importance of forgiveness.
Gotcha.
Um, so that's a little bit about myself as far as my upbringing and who my parents are and where we come from. Broward kid. As soon as we came here, straight to Broward. So born in Ecuador, raised in I'm a Florida boy at heart. So um, there was also the intricacies that came with growing up here. It's fun to say the least, but it built a lot of character. So
For sure.
you know, um, I went to Tropical Elementary, Seminole Middle School, South Plantation, and Plantation High School, which is like the staple. I guess I would say the staple ladder here in Broward County. Like a lot of kids went to these three schools, so I'm pretty familiar with the area. I feel like I don't want to, what I'm establishing here is important, and um, this is my home, so I have to give back.
So what you just mentioned, I think, is super important because what you're ultimately doing right now is that you're giving back to your community, right? Um, I've been around you and your business GoFit long enough to know that one of the staples to your business model is the community. Um, One of the reasons why I got hooked in to kind of following you on your journey in entrepreneurship and with your business specifically was because of you, for one, your story. When we first met, you shared your story and how you overcame all of that, and I was like, man, like this guy gets it, and that kind of hooked me in. But what kept me there was seeing how you were building this community around what you were doing, and I know your heart's in it. Genuinely, it's really about the people. Today, I really want to focus a lot on that community aspect of it, because as you're about to become a father, I think you're going to learn very quickly that fatherhood has a lot to do with community, who you have in your circle, who you have in your corner, who can assist, because it's not easy. Um, and I feel that your parents and that journey from Ecuador to get here to put you in a better environment, a better situation, that's not easy. Who in your life at that time was assisting them? I know we've talked a little bit about your grandfather, for example. What did their community look like?
Hmm. This is so crazy because this is really crazy because I'm going to show you how life comes back full circle.
All right, let's go.
I think you remember the very beginning of GoFit. It was me, Coach TZ, and Dr. Core.
Yep, yep.
So Dr. Core couldn't be closer to me. Blood couldn't make us closer. Um, when we first came to this country, I shared a room with him. So his parents, his grandparents were his grandma was my grandma's best friend from childhood, and then it was a generation, and then the generations kind of just. So we're not blood related. However, we are related to some degree. Like one of my cousin's cousins is his cousin's, like that,
Gotcha.
right? But it's not like it matters at that point. There's no, you know. But the friendship was always there. Like my mom tells me stories of him and her and his mom from when they were kids. So when they first came to this country, they opened the door to us and they let us stay in their apartment for about 3 months. My uncle Jimbo, rest in peace, an amazing man. He helped my dad get on his feet. Found him work. At first, it was valet parking. Then it was doing maintenance work. He was a maintenance man at a complex, the person that fixed all the things, and the handyman. And then from then on, it was just friendship. Like Thanksgivings, Christmases, stuff like that. So they were the first people that opened their doors to us and kind of like showed us the way. From everything from connections with immigration lawyers to just kind of like start developing a new life here in the United States, because that's very important. But that was so them along with like other parents in the friend circle and in the neighborhood, because now they're all like family.
Yeah.
So it was like different, maybe like 4 or 5 families of cousins and friends and even neighbors that we became so close that 20 something years later, they're going to be flying in from Canada to come to my baby shower.
Hey,
So, like
nice.
it was their team. It was the families that were like, hey guys, let's do something for the kids next weekend. We all throw down $20 and let's make them a pool barbecue. Like the ones that organized for the kids, the ones who, if my dad was at work, my uncle Jimbo was taking me to soccer practice. Like it was, and he's not really my uncle. It was like me telling you, or yo, do you want me to pick up your
Yeah.
kid? And like that. Like, so it's people who made a difference and poured back into my parents' life. That now full circle. Look at me, Dr. Cord. We're still at this point, breaking bread, creating memories. So it trickled down. So that, yeah, their team, their support system when they first came here are people who I grew up with, who are still in my life, who have been consistent, who have noticed that how their parents raised them created a direct correlation on how they behave now in their life, and we're very supportive towards one another. Um, Let me see who else they had. I mean, they were very, uh, you know, through struggle you find your circle of faith.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just to a side note story of how I found Christianity and how I found Christ. My parents and when we first came here, my dad used to scream from the top of his lungs, "I'm a apostolic Roman Catholic. I don't go to Christian
Interesting.
churches." And I was like, okay, no worries. And at that time, a friend of mine had invited me to just a group, like just youth group at someone's house. We talked. We maybe played some video games and prayed at the end. Someone shared the word, and it was fun. So I went for like a whole year, and meanwhile still going to a Catholic church. And then eventually I invited my mom. Eventually I invited my dad, and then they found also a new support system through friends in faith.
Nice.
Their family in faith, and you know, here we are. Same thing. 20 years later, same people are in my life. Same solid foundations, right?
So even looking back at that, if you didn't have that community, if your parents didn't have the help that they had, or you had the friends or brothers that you've now found in really close friends, where do you think you'd be today? Like, what do you think would be different about your life without having that community in place?
I I'm not a fan of comparison,
Sure.
but we grew up with a lot of French friends that kind of end up taking a wrong turn, right? And you just years go by and you're like, hey, I wonder how this person's doing. I feel like I would end up with no guidance. I would end up somewhere, um, just on a bad corner in life, man. I've seen the people that, whether it was because of a parent or a good friend, the people that I had to remove from my life,
Yeah.
that I would have ended up like. I think that having overcome obesity and having overcome different, you know, bad habits and bad scenarios in my life, kind of shed light on the people that helped me through and or motivated me or said that one thing that flipped the switch for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it wasn't for them, I think I would have still been going down the wrong path with friends that were influencing me. I think people who at once suffered, or have these psychosocial or psychologic, you know, disorders, whether it's anxiety, whether it's a food disorder, I think that they're very easily influenced, and I was for a long time. So I thank those people for motivating me and helping me become better, because I would have ended up probably a drug addict, probably with the wrong person,
Yeah.
or
Mm,
yeah.
that's a big deal. So like even going into this new phase of life, we're bringing a baby in, baby boy at that, into the world. I know you're super excited. I know you're gonna be an awesome dad. Like I'm excited for you. How do you see community in this child's life, and just for you and your fiance? Like, how do you guys see community moving forward now?
I'm gonna be real with you right now. You know how women nest?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I'm what's that documentary on Netflix with the chimpanzees?
Not no clue.
I thought something like A Chimp's Life or something like that, right? Where they're like, there's a part that they talk about when the community's at guard. So I feel like right now I'm very possessive, jealous, kind of like at guard. I feel sometimes on edge,
Mm-hmm.
overprotective. So I think as Rachel is nesting, I'm kind of taking on I feel the need, or the innate, like, primal need to protect,
Yeah,
to limit access, to stand my ground when it comes to my opinions as a new coming dad.
sure.
Establishing boundaries. So right now I'm outside drawing my perimeter.
Yeah, yeah.
So as wifey's nesting, I'm making
You're
sure
secure in
that,
the house.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
got you.
So, and it's almost overwhelming, because you hear from every parent, is you come to realize, once you have a baby, once you have a child, who's really there and what their intentions are.
1,000%.
So, yeah, I'm preparing is the right
Preparing.
word. I'm
Okay.
preparing.
I mean, I would tell you from just experience that communities is one of the number one reasons why, like, I even still live here in Florida. If I'm being honest with you, the idea of going to another state, for example, is very attractive. That's something that I really been thinking about it. But then I start thinking, who do we have in place that's going to help? Because I'm a firm believer in it takes a village. And I just think about how my life is right now, how things are at home with my wife and our schedules and all that. And I'm like, I don't know how this would work if we didn't have the people in place that we have now. Um, Community is the reason why my marriage is still alive. And I say that because when we do a check-in and realize that, hey, something's off here, we got to address this and we need some time to figure this out together, I can send the kids over to grandma, or Gigi or uncle or whatever the case may be, people we trust, obviously, right? And say, hey, babe, let's have a date night. Let's go talk. Let's go figure out whatever we're doing. And I think that you're going to find very soon, very quickly, how this baby consumes your time, your attention, your focus, your mental, every ounce of your being. This baby's gonna assume all of it, and it's not like there are going to be times where you don't actually need to be as attentive as you are. I'm just going to be honest. There is downtime, but you being a father, you being a new father at that, you being a man who is genuinely a good man, you're going to have this feeling of I got to protect at all times, even when there is no threat. That doesn't go away. It doesn't. It changes how it looks as you get older and as the child gets older, but that innate desire to protect and build that fence and that perimeter, it never goes away. And I will tell you this though, for your own sanity, for your own relationship, for her sanity, you guys have to have a super strong community around you. And it doesn't have to be big. Like, you don't need 20, 30, 40, 50 people that you can say, hey, this is my circle. You need at least two solid people. One that you can go talk to that doesn't really talk to Rachel, and one that Rachel can go talk to that doesn't really talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys come together. You're going to need it. And I think it's so beneficial just going into this next stage of your journey, man, with the kid,
Yeah.
to build that community from now, man. So yeah, man. I'm really excited for you. Again, I can't reiterate that. Like, I know I've seen how you speak about your dad, how you speak about the type of man that you are and the type of man that you want to become. And I'm like, yeah, he's got all the right pieces to be a damn good dad. Like, it's there, and he's just gonna figure out how to piece it all together once the time comes. So, I do want to transition a little to talk about your grandfather and your relationship with him a little bit. Um,
It's a
I
good
know
one.
it's
That's a good one.
it was a low blow, it was a dirty shot,
No,
but
no.
no, man, like, in passing, we've talked about him a few
Yeah.
times, and I haven't got the full story yet, but in a nutshell, I do want you to kind of just share a little bit about the type of relationship, the dynamic of your relationship with him, and then we'll segue into kind of where I want to go with that. So,
Man, so my grandpa, he was a great man. He was a professional soccer player. He was an entrepreneur. He had, and in his youth, he had success with skill, with athleticism, with the wits about him to be able to generate and provide for his family. He was a big influence in all of our lives. I think all the men in our family, including my dad. However, with me, I was his, I'm his first grandson. He passed away, so but I still feel him very present. Passed away 2.5 years ago. He influenced my life because when I was little, and this is, my father is a great man. I owe him my life. However, when it came to a lot of the insecurities and a lot of, the flaws in my life, I also blamed them a lot. And I I'm in the stage of my life where forgiveness has been spoken about, and we've moved forward. And right now, between me and my dad, it's nothing but love, like, and respect. And I still honor him, and I find him a sacred being in my life. You know, my parents are sacred to me. So if my parents are sacred, my grandpa to me was, an image to where I was like, man, those shoes are big to fill, right? He before he passed away, he came by the gym, and he made sure to let me know he was proud of me. He made sure to let me know that I reminded him of him a lot, and that's why I say the scale that we have at GoFit is the most accurate scale in Broward County.
You knew that was coming next, right? I need to.
So
I had to throw you the alley oop
so
first.
he was one of two men in Ecuador that was number one able or fixed these old scales, the old system, the with the spring and the balance, the triple beam scales. But he was also one of two men in Broward County in Ecuador. Self-reflecting here in Ecuador, that knew how to open safes. So one of the craziest stories that my grandpa told me is that sometime in the 80s, he was requested of his service. He was put on a small airplane, blindfolded. Where he landed was a man of great value in the, I would say, the narcotics industry back in the 80s in Colombia. Um, my grandpa was opening safes for Pablo Escobar.
I don't like just say it. Just say it at this point.
So he was hired for a job where he told me the story. At the end he broke it down who it was, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's crazy. So he was someone with 1,001 stories that to this day I feel very present because I can hear a song and remember him. I can be somewhere and think about that one life advice that he gave me. One thing that I never saw him. I barely ever saw that man angry,
Yeah.
and the way for him to process things, and he had a saying that he lived by. He goes, "You can solve anything. You can solve anything in this life, talking it out and having a conversation, except death. So anything in this life has a solution, except death. So don't let it weigh too heavy on you." So I live by that, man. I every single day in my life, especially now with this new little motivation, my
big
baby boy,
motivation.
big motivation.
Yeah.
Everything becomes so insignificant because everything has a solution.
Yeah.
And anytime I feel overwhelmed, anytime I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place, I remember, man, how many times have you solved this issue before? And you could take a deep breath right now and know that you've shaken out of tougher situations, that you
Yeah.
can do it. And I hear it in my grandfather's voice, man. I have yet to be able to hear it in my own. So he's my conscience, man. He's my conscience. He's who um he's who I sometimes speak to in my head to pray and protect for me from a different place. So yeah, it's a little bit of my grandpa. Uh,
Tell me the story about the scale. And I know it's a
yeah.
long story, but give me the Cliff Note version of the significance of the scale and what happened that morning that you walked in.
So wait, which morning are you talking about?
When you walked it after the fire, all that.
Oh
Yes, that
man.
story. Yeah.
Um. So okay. So just I'm breaking down the fire as well, right? So my grandfather, that the scale was one of the things, one of the items that survived, and if you look at it now, I haven't cleaned it because it's a reminder that of resilience of him. To me, I can't get rid of it. I can't, and it's still at the gym. But the day, my couple of weeks before he went back to Ecuador, he fixed it, broke it apart, stayed there for hours, making sure everything was balanced. Doing what he does. Um, then, one day, show up to GoFit, just like a regular day. I'm warming up with some people. I look up and I see smoke, and I'm like, oh man, damn. what's going on here? Like, did something break? Did something burning? So I run back. I see a little flame. I'm trying to give the long story short of the fire here. So I run out, get the extinguisher. By the time I'm back all the way in the room, the fire hadn't. The AC had turned on. The wind
Mm,
made the flames a lot.
yeah, yeah.
It lit the whole place on fire. And by the time I was deep in trying to use the extinguisher, there was no. All I can see is darkness. I was spinning around, and I see flames and dark, just flames and dark. And for a split second, I'm like, oh, this got to be what hell looks like. It was all in one breath. So I'm in there, I'm spinning in circles. All I can see by the exit sign light is a picture of my uncle who had already passed away. And I mean, I see the scale there. Like at this moment, I'm thinking this is all like I'm about to lose everything. So I grabbed a few items, ran out. Firefighters showed up, cleaned everything up. Um, the hours went by until we were able to go back in. I go back inside, and the there was one thing that I found a little weird, and I do believe in Christ, and I did have a lot of experiences with the occult, so I think there was a set of like tarot cards that were completely like unharmed. They were paper cards, which is weird,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Everything else was charred. So I go and I open it, and it was kind of like just a coincidental message. Like, this is like a new beginning. The typical, like, if you look up the card, I forgot it
Mm,
was the knight of something or king or something, and I looked up the definition that this is a new beginning. This is something that was meant to happen. This is a new start. Wash it. All the symbolism that came with the fire coincided with the card, I guess. Um, then I mean, wait, which? So I'm telling the story about the fire, but which part exactly are you?
the
Remind me
fact
here.
that the scale after, I mean, this fire engulfed everything, and
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
scale,
It was one of the things that survived.
and not just that, but I remember when you told me the story. Not only was the scale one of the only things that survived, but when you walked in, it was almost like a ray of light or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yes,
yeah,
yes. So
yeah,
there
yeah,
was a
yeah.
hole on the wall. So I walked in, and I thought it was gonna be done. I thought it was gonna be done for. That's one of the first things when I walked back in through the wall. I see, like, I'm looking straight at the scale, and it looked like a message, like somebody was saying, like, you know what, you're okay. This was meant to be.
Yeah.
Trust, believe. It's okay. So I mean, I had already spent hours and hours crying. All the anxiety, like, what am I gonna do? This is my fault. I, had three other business partners at the time that I felt very guilty of ruining things for them, because they also took a chance. They took a chance on the opportunity on me. So I felt like I let everybody down. But that ray, that, like, me walking in and seeing the scale, was a reminder that, what, he's here. He's watching over me. Um, and he protected me while I was in there. Because there was a moment in time where the door was closed, and I had no way out. I didn't, I was kicking walls left and right, just to see how to get, like, how I was gonna get out, all in one breath. Um, so seeing the scale was a reminder that, even in that deepest, darkest moment where I thought, like, yo, I have no way out. That there was something that wasn't gonna let me either die or get hurt in there.
It's funny you said that. The first thing that clicked to me just now was your comment earlier about some of the advice that he gave you. That, hey, no matter what it is in this life, there's always a way to solve a problem outside of death. And here you are face to face with death, technically speaking. And here's this reminder of your grandfather saying that exact same thing. Even in this problem right
Yeah,
here, there's a way out of this.
yeah,
And here you are, you find your way out. I don't know how. You're in darkness. There's smoke. There's, you know what I'm saying? You find your way out. And then when you come back in, when everything is all settled, and there's a scale there.
yeah. Something I also found weird, that have you ever seen those YouTube videos or like TikTok where you take a lock, like a master lock, and if you can't open it, or you broke the key or whatever, you can light a candle under it, and eventually the springs will pop.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
There's, like, I get, I've seen it before. I've tried it, but I haven't been successful. So hopefully it's true. But I took that and I assumed that the fire was going to ruin the scale. Maybe still accurate. It's
Mm.
still accurate. So I don't know what he did, or if it's like told you, like I told you I was here.
Yeah.
Kind of like a little bit of a. He always had that sense of humor. He always had a sense of humor. He always had those weird sayings. The
Yeah.
old
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
say like
The wisdom
the wisdom
sayings.
sayings.
Yeah.
The win like he had a weird saying that in Spanish is either por la vida or a la vida, and then he was constantly cheering to life, subconsciously. It was just something that he always said. So somebody with so much life, kind of even after in the afterlife,
Mm.
made me realize like, you know, everything has a solution except death.
How do you think his personality, the character of this man, has helped shape who you are today? How you view the world, how you see the world through your rose-colored glasses, even. You know what I'm saying? Like how has his personality impacted you at this stage in your life?
Um, he was a relationship builder. I know my grandfather to have had many friends, many contacts. I don't think there was anyone that ever, man, I was going to say, I don't think there's anyone that ever hated him, even to the point where, back in the 80s, back in the 70s, Ecuador was like a wild, wild west. And there was a story of like the largest criminal in the city. They even called him Rambo because he was, he was tall, had long hair, super swole, whatever. He was like the way they took that guy out. It might as well have been Rambo. Like, they raided his house, threw a mattress over him, and every cop like emptied their clip on him. That's how they had to take him out. However, he robbed my grandpa. My grandpa watched this guy grow up. He knew his family members. He knew about him. My grandpa had never been disrespected like that. So, of course, my grandpa grabs 4 of his nephews. They go and find him. They get into this like stand down. The guy was, from the story that I hear, he was like on maybe like Xanax or pills or something. He was drugged out. My grandpa went and made himself respected. From what I hear, it got violent. Guns were drawn. My grandpa lets one loose and shoots him in the Achilles.
Mm.
This Rambo guy. Years before he was taken out. He was still committing crimes after that. However, 2 weeks later, my grandpa is on his balcony and he hears a knock on the gate. And of course, from the balcony, who is it? Guns drawn. It's this guy. He goes, I want nothing. I want no problems. Leaves a letter on the door apologizing to my grandpa. We're talking about, at this point, the city's, most feared criminal, or the name, the city's most feared criminal was leaving apology letters, to my grandpa, because he didn't know that he robbed him. He had no idea. He was so drugged that he didn't know he robbed my grandpa. That's how much of a relationship maker, how much of a community guy he was. Everybody knew him in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
To the point where, at one point, the worst criminal in the city paid him his respects. So I take that, I say that to say, I got in my genes. I got that community builder. How to be the glue, how to bring people together, how to be friends, how to start a conversation, how to connect the dots. You need something, I've got somebody that has it.
Yeah.
How to be a
Yeah.
resource. That's it.
You could say it the Broward way.
The Broward way. How to be a plug.
How to be a plug.
That's it. You know what I'm saying? I'm the extension. You got several plugs out here.
Yes, sir. Man, like I love the story of your grandfather. I mean, we've talked about him. This is a new one. Didn't hear that one before.
Yeah.
But I think the common trend I'm starting to see as you're talking is you've had a lot of great men in your life, from your dad to your grandfather. You've mentioned at least 1 or 2 different uncles, and then obviously your cousins, the guys who you consider to be brothers, such as like Dr. Core, for example. How do you think that has played into who you are today, for one, but more importantly, the man that you need to be in order to raise this child,
These
child.
man, we putting
all right.
We're going for the soccer team. I'm back to back, baby.
A little Pele Jr.
A little Pele Jr.
I'm down for it, man.
Yeah, I think that, man, I can't wait. I can't wait to be able to instill that in my son, you know, how to be of service to people.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's the most, I think, how to lead life in service, in religion, in you know what people call you know karma and whatever metaphysics. I feel like the big secret to 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 become someone outside after you're dead, right? To leave a legacy. The biggest secret is you have to dedicate your life to live in service. I think that when you live in service without expecting anything in return, or when you live in service for the love or the passion to see others grow, or to see others happy, others succeed, um, that's a good general concept of what life should be. And everything comes around that, you know, learning new things, experimenting new things, you know, how to be a team player, you know, even if you got to be the best on the team, right? How to produce, right, for you or for the team or for your village. Um, how to be someone of value, right? And that comes with not just what you're able to do for others, what you love to do that may benefit your community, how you make money. You know, that's to me is insignificant, but more so how to provide, how to love someone or how to love your community to love themselves. You know, to be able to spread that. Like I want his message to be not just his, but you know, spread.
Yeah.
To be somebody else's message and so on and spread like
So we all can share in that
yeah
vision.
yeah
You
to
know what I
share
mean?
the vision. I think it's very important because that's what I feel from these men, right? I feel from the men that have been in my life, men of value, men of great core values, you know, men of resource, right? I have found that no matter what value they see in themselves, I'm able to bring that out of them and help them realize that they can provide, they can produce, that they can be better, that they can be a good friend, they can be a good father. So I think that's a good general
Mm.
basis of how I want to use what I've learned from my community and raise my child.
So do you feel empowered?
Having a kid or empowered with,
Empowered to do that, to
I,
be that guy for your kids?
I feel like that's a big question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I want to start by saying that I've wanted to be a father since I was a child.
Since you were a kid.
All right. Since I was a kid, I've always wanted kids. So I feel empowered now, right? Now, I think, man, what if I would have had a kid at 21?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or I'm 30, I'm gonna be 32 in about a month and a half. So I'm thinking like, ooh, that was a different me. That was a less prepared me.
Yeah.
No matter what I said to myself at 21 and try to convince myself that I knew
Yeah, like I was ready.
that
I'm
I knew the
good.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh, I have goosebumps just thinking about it.
I
You
think we've
know?
all had that moment at least once in
Right.
our 20s.
So I think that in the experiences that I've gathered from then to now, man, I'm enthusiastic to bring this baby into this world and to show him what's right from wrong and just watch him level up every
Yes,
couple
sir.
of years and learn new things and say new things and
You
pick up
say
new
you say
skills.
that now.
Ah!
You say that now. Then they start talking and some of the stuff they say, you're just like,
Like,
really?
where'd you
Really?
hear that from?
You didn't hear that from me. Yeah,
Yeah,
last
yeah.
night I heard you say.
Oh no.
So
Yeah.
so in this journey that you're preparing for, I love that you feel empowered, and I'm attributing that to, again, the examples that you've had up until this point in the different men that's been in your life. I feel like they've really left a good mark on you, especially your grandfather. Just giving you that outlook on life, that perspective that you can take into raising your kids, no matter what the problem is, because there's gonna be a lot of issues raising this child. There's a lot of things that are gonna come up. No matter what it is, though, like we can work through this, whether through communication or patience or whatever. What do you think is going to be the most difficult thing for you in fatherhood?
The responsibilities, right? Um, Failing and giving myself grace.
Mm,
As it is, I'm my worst critique, you know. And I really love the intro message that you have for this podcast because it made me realize that, oh man, I have to fall in love with the process of failure.
yeah.
Because if not, I think that you know, the hibby jibbies start coming around. The D word, you know,
Mm-hmm.
depression and
Yeah. Yeah.
judging myself and feeling overwhelmed and feeling like I'm not doing enough. Right. So I think starting with applying like daily, you know, 20 minutes of like forgiving myself and making sure that I learn and apply and I'm not just cruising and coasting unintentionally through raising a child, which is like, yeah, I'm just downloading my software into you, little man. Like I have to do it the right way.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm afraid. Was that Spider-Man? Was it? I think it was
With great power comes great
brother.
responsibility.
So with great power, I feel empowered, but I'm very in a way scared. That's for lack of a better. I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Right? Because yeah, I do feel empowered, but just as much power as I have and I feel, and it can mean that it just comes with that much the possibility of failure.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like the more power, the harder the face plant in case that something was to happen. Right?
Sure.
So sometimes as as an overthinker, you especially when especially in the health and wellness, and like as a physiotherapist learning a lot of things, I know too much for my own damn good,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I overthink. So managing those thoughts and managing one moment, one day at a time, and knowing that even if I don't know, that as other fathers have told me, there is an innate ability for you to just figure things out.
Yeah.
And keep the baby safe. Like project, keep them alive for as long as you can, right? So I feel like those, the first either couple months or couple of years is that it's like, okay, do the right thing, make sure he's healthy, make sure he's well fed. I feel like during the pregnancy right now, I'm very proud, man, because I'm very proud in the growth that's currently happening.
In terms of like your relationship or you
Yeah,
yourself?
in terms of the relationship, because I'm being intentional, and I'm loving the process of being supportive, and I'm seeing that all it is, the difference between now and the baby is he's gonna be outside the belly. So I
Yeah.
have to be just as intentional with the baby as I am with mom. She's vocal. She's not a baby, so she shows me her gratitude, and validates the work that I'm doing, and makes me feel like when I don't feel like I'm doing enough, she makes me feel like I'm enough. So I'm very
Awesome.
grateful for baby mom.
Oh, awesome, man.
She's loving on me, and it's a very two. I love the two-way street that this has become, because 13 years in a relationship, you go through trials and tribulations. However, I had a worse expectation of what this pregnancy would be. Right, there's 2 months left. I know the last 2 months are the final stretch and the hardest part. So I'm starting to see what it entails. With all the pregnancy trials and tribulations, the hip pain and the constant waking up in the middle of the night, so the lack of sleep, and so I just came to realize that
The lack of sleep.
the lack of
You
sleep.
complain about that now?
Yeah, I'll be taking naps here and there.
I'm about to say, man, it's gonna get worse.
I know exactly. So grace, right? Having a light heart about what's happening in life. I can't allow it to be too heavy on me. I can't allow it to um I guess cloud me from my purpose, right?
Yeah.
Because my life is about to be this baby, but my life is also very multifaceted, very multidimensional, and it's going to require a lot of my attention and a lot of my energy. However, if you know if I breathe wrong, all things can go wrong. So I have to be very careful. I have to be I think be a open to help.
Yes.
It's one of the things that I have learned, or am learning.
You literally brought it back to what I was gonna say when you were done. Actually, was remember community. That's the theme for today.
Yeah.
Like I really want to drive that point home, because as much as the community is to help you raise this child, a part of raising this child is you having to be present and be here.
Mm-hmm.
And your community is going to take some of that burden off of your shoulders to allow you to not fall underneath that pressure. And a lot of pressure does come from ourselves, to be honest with you. Even listening to you talk just now, I'm like, yeah, he sounds like a first time dad, man, for sure. I don't think any of us didn't have
Yeah.
those same thoughts. I think even some of the fear that you have there's a healthy level of that. It shows that you care. Like it shows that you actually want to do a damn good job at this thing. You understand the gravity of what you are tasked with. So I think there's a healthy level of like, okay, I'm terrified of what's about to happen. But again, going back to this whole community aspect, there is nothing that you're not going to be able to tackle once you have that community in place. And you of all people, man, knowing your story, you are one of the people who I can look at and say you get it when it comes to having somebody in your corner that's going to be able to pull you out of that darkness in those moments. There are going to be times, and I'm not saying that, baby mama.
I've been waiting to say that. She
Bro,
doesn't
I'm
mind it.
like, you
I
said it
love
like
it,
you
bro.
said it once. And I was
I
just
love
like,
it.
that's
I
not
tell her
baby.
like I couldn't
Can't wait to
wait to
call you
say
baby
baby
mama.
mama.
Look,
Yeah.
man, like my thought is that, like, especially with her, and I really hope, I pray that my prayer is that she doesn't have to deal with this. But there are a lot of women, including my wife, who had a very mild case of uh, uh,
Postpartum.
postpartum,
Hmm.
and I remember what that was like. And hearing you talk, I'm smiling on the inside because I'm like, this man is prepared for any scenario. Even if that happens to be the scenario, you've already got the keys. You saying that you're trying to be intentional about being present and helping and whatever, she's going to need that more than ever before, should she ever have to cross that bridge. But even if she doesn't cross that bridge, the first 30 days of having that child is one of the weirdest, most like roller coasters you'll ever have to go through. You're like on a high, like, oh my gosh, like he's finally here, like 9 months of preparation and waiting. And like, now I'm holding you. I see you. My heart is overwhelmed with joy, like all of that. And then there's going to be times where it's just like, can you just stop crying? Please, I need 5 minutes. 5 minutes is all I'm at. It's a roller coaster of emotion those first couple of months, really. But, you know, I'm looking back to my firstborn and, going through that whole scenario with my wife. And I don't know where we would be if we didn't have people like Desleen, who was her best friend and one of my oldest friends. My circle of brothers and guys, and my parents, and her parents. I don't know where we would be right now if we didn't have that community to help us through it. And I've shared this with you before. When our second born was born, we the first 30 days, cool. As soon as day like 31 hit, he developed this thing they call like the witching hour, which is where the child in the evening time, usually around 6, 7 o'clock, whatever, the child just cries like uncontrollably for 2, 3 hours. It could be an hour, it could be two, it could be three. We don't know. And there's no consoling them. It doesn't matter if you feed them, coddle them, play with them, sing to them. It does not matter what you do. This baby's gonna cry for that set amount of time. We had that for 30 days. Like 30 whole days of going through that. Every single night this child was crying. It didn't matter what. And it was always the worst times, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. every single night for 30 days. It was the most trying and difficult time in our marriage, where it was like, if I heard her breathe, I'd snap, like, why are you breathing so loud? Like, what are you doing? Or if I'm sleeping, like, why are you sleeping? Are you tired? Like, she would snap. We were just going back and forth because we were short on sleep and very high on like aggression, and just like, it was all pent up. And I remember just having, I think it was my mother-in-law who stepped in, was like, hey, like, do you need a day? And just for her to come take the kids for an hour, just come sit for an hour, or my mom or her best friend, whoever, just came for an hour just to say, hey, whatever you got to go do that, and I'll be here. I got the kids. And I can't tell you what that did for us, to be able to sleep, to be able to go on a date night and like, work on a relationship and remember why we fell in love with each other. That community was so pivotal in just being able to make it past those first like 60 days. I don't know what it would be, honestly. It was the most difficult thing I've ever had to do in my entire life. And just in preparing for that, have the community in place, man. Like, for your own benefit, for the kids' benefit, for her benefit. It's all up from here. And I've seen your community. Like, you're not short on good people in your life.
Yeah.
And I love that, man. About GoFit, about you, about everything that you do. Your community is there.
Yeah.
So this is not gonna be any different.
It's a lot. I've had a lot of, hey, if you need a babysitter, I'm here.
Yeah.
And I have, thank you so much. But in my head, I'm like,
I'm
okay. Like, all right.
I get it.
So,
like, I appreciate the offer.
Yeah, thank you. I'll run it by my mom first.
Yeah.
So, safety is everything at the same time. And then I also think, like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Like,
And have you ever seen that commercial about the it was like first time moms or whatever, first time parents, and the mom is like holding this baby like a newborn. She wouldn't let anybody touch it, breathe on it, like look at it sideways, nothing. Like, you couldn't talk to her baby without like coming through her first. And it was like, by baby number 2.
Yeah.
And now like the plumber comes to the house to fix something. She opens the door and she's like, here, hold this baby real quick, please. Let me go do something.
Yeah.
It's very much like that. I mean, not to that extent. Obviously, that's extreme.
I get it. Yeah.
But initially, it's like a knee-jerk reaction. It's like, hey, wait a minute. Like, no, like, this is my child. I've got to protect at all cost. And, eventually you'll kind of come out of that phase and realize that the entire universe isn't against you and your family. And, like, not everything is out there to harm this child. But yeah, man, having the community also helped with that transition, because now you have a safe space, you know. And when I say community, it's like you said, not everybody who offers is
Yeah,
in
of
your
course.
mind a part of that community.
Mm-hmm.
They might be in their head, but we know, right?
Yeah.
The community that you call community, they're going to help with that transition phase of you being able to say, you know what, I can live almost a normal life again and get back to some normalcy, whatever that means as a
Mm-hmm.
father, to be able to have just, you know, do things that you want to do, or go back to self-care, because that's going to get put on the back burner for a little bit.
Yeah.
And you of all people, I mean, you know that, dude,
Yeah.
just how important that is. So
Definitely.
what are you looking forward to most, though?
What am I looking forward to? Oh man, are we talking about with the baby or just
Everything, man, this whole
so
journey of
I'm
fatherhood.
looking forward to seeing so just as the you know when the fire happened when the fire happened, I felt like it was just my whole entire world kind of just crumbled in pieces right in front of me. I'm looking forward to see what the big picture looks like again after we rebuild, you know,
Mm.
and just pick up all the pieces together and redo this whole masterpiece. And I'm not just talking about the gym. I'm talking about the whole community. I'm talking about me as a whole, you know. I've with the fire and the gym burning down, it's a representation of rebuilding me, right? My foundation, uh my structure, like the people that my non-negotiable rules, that I live by day in and day out in order for me to carry out my daily tasks, to fulfill my purpose, man. So I'm looking forward to see when I can sit back and be like, oh, okay, this is what we're working with.
Mm-hmm.
This is the big picture, and I want to have the a secure and established system with business
Mm-hmm.
and all my my projects and entrepreneurial endeavors. I want to have a system that's easy and organized at home, and also with everything else, every other aspect, be as a son, as a friend, as a partner, as a everything else. So yeah, looking forward to, and I feel like I have a timeline, right? I feel
Yeah.
like right now I'm on go mode. Right now on it's like full all systems go. It reminds me of those days when I used to work in sales, and it was like we're racing, we're
Yeah. Yeah.
racing to that number or for that goal, or who's gonna have the most sales. I feel like that, but it's against me. It's right now between now and May when the baby is born. I want to make sure that I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself, which is very draining, but I'm doing it very happily, which
Yeah.
is kind of he's the fuel. Zen is my balance. Zen is my fuel, and my purpose to push and create what I want to create by May, so that I can take a step back, enjoy his homecoming,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Be at home and witness all the firsts.
He may sound like he just got out of jail or something.
He's home base, baby.
Yeah,
That's it.
man. And for
Yeah.
those who don't know,
He
Zen
did.
is the name that they've given to this beautiful baby boy that is going to be here in May as well. So, which is
Yeah.
a beautiful name, by the way, man. It's
Thank you.
when you told me the name earlier, I was like, that's so them. Like,
Yeah.
what else would you name this child? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, your background in, and I can never say it right,
Physiotherapy.
physiotherapy.
Yeah.
But even just your demeanor, like how you approach problem solving, you're just such a chill guy. So, and then Rachel's more the same. She does yoga. She teaches yoga. She's a yogi. So for you guys to name your child Zen is very reminiscent, I think, of the two of you, and just how you guys are. So that's awesome, man. I do want to do a quick shameless plug before we get out of here. If you are in Broward County, if you are not in Broward County, and you're willing to make the drive or the travel, you're looking for a home gym that is even more. I feel like GoFit is more about the human experience than it is becoming physically fit, because their focus there is about the whole person. Hey, yeah, we work out, we're burning calories, we're trying to get our lifestyle situated and get in shape and be healthy, but the why is the part that they target there. One of the reasons why I kept coming to GoFit or even was interested was because they have a community of people. They don't care if they don't know you or not. If it's your first day or your 100th day, they treat you the same. You walk in and you're struggling. Hey, bro, I got you. Like, we can do this together. Like, hey, keep going. You got this. I've got that reception every single time that I've gone to GoFit. They're developing a community that's more about how do we heal and build the person as an individual as a whole, and not just how do we sculpt their body. How do we help them heal mentally? How do we help them heal emotionally? As a matter of fact, Jaime just started a new program on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. where he's getting men together to work out and then talk shop afterwards. Hey, what are you going through? What are you dealing with this week? And it's things like that that I think are so important and need a light shed on them. GoFit is a place to go. It's in Sunrise, Florida, or technically Lauderhill, on the cusp, whatever you guys want to call
Right
it.
on the border.
But I just want to put that shameless plug out there, because it's, as much as this podcast is a platform for help, GoFit is equally a platform for help and assistance and community and partnership with people. It's, and like, look, hear me, all right? I may want to say it, I'm going to say it. The humility this man has, it's not about money for him. It's not about self-gain for him. He's there every single day because he wants to change lives. And that's legitimately his heart and his passion for people to change their lives. He's trying to help people avoid the pitfalls he went through and the dark places he had in his life. And I think you're doing a damn good job at that. You're such an upstanding guy, man. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, you're the guy. You're that guy, man.
Brother, if I can have everybody that I wanted to in my life pour onto me the way that you pour onto me, man, and you know, I think it would be perfect, right? But life isn't perfect, and I appreciate you even more because of that.
Ah,
you know?
Shucks. Get out
So,
of here, man.
thank you for believing in me.
Always,
Since
man.
day one. We've been doing this for a while. We've been planning this one for a while. I think this is going to be a fire episode. And man, I enjoy having you as a friend in my life, bro.
Likewise, man.
And I look up to you as a father. I look up to you as an
Yeah, bro,
entrepreneur.
not that old. Sheesh.
Yeah, man. Not my father, but you know.
Yeah.
And I feel safe knowing that at any point in time, if I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, I can reach out to people like you and, you know, my community for an answer. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me, bro.
Always, man. It's all love, brother.
+1, baby.
Hey, +1.
It's gains over everything. Let's go.
Let's go, man.